point is, all of a sudden, the person who set up the trust retains, right, a certain amount of control that they previously didn't have when they used to have to give up. Today, we're going to talk about why it's an important decision to figure out who should be trustee of a family's trust, or in some circumstances, multiple trusts. So many wealthy families might have a variety of trusts that have been set up through multiple generations, and there might be different trustees. So they need to really ask themselves who should be trustee and why. So first thing that we should talk about is, what is a trustee of a trust? So a trustee is a legal role. They have a fiduciary responsibility to the beneficiaries of the trust, meaning that they have to act in the best interests of the beneficiaries of the trust. So a lot of times people will say, well, what if a trustee doesn't act in the best interests of the beneficiaries, and there is legal responsibilities that the trustee has to meet in order to be meeting their legal requirements. And if they aren't, then a beneficiary actually can have a claim against a fiduciary or a trustee. So that word fiduciary is something that you'll hear a lot in the financial advisory world or in the trust world. So who should a family pick? Historically, the trustee has held many, many responsibilities. So they've been in charge of managing the assets. That might be investing the assets or buying new assets, whether it's a brokerage account, a stock portfolio, maybe it's real estate, maybe it's other businesses. There's a whole lot of different types of assets that a trust can hold. It really can hold any type of asset, depending on the type of trust. So you have to be cognizant of the ability of a trustee to manage those assets. Not everyone is well suited to maybe run a company or decide on which stocks they should be trading. So this responsibility comes with serious knowledge and skills that not many people have. So in addition to that, a trustee's also been responsible for making distributions to beneficiaries. And so each trust might have different stipulations of when distributions are made to beneficiaries. In addition to that, there are certain administrative things that come along with a trust. And so that might be filing tax returns. It might be preparing other tax documents like a K-1 that might show a distribution to a beneficiary. So there's all these other things that come along with being a trustee, and it's really not an easy task, right? So there's a lot of trust companies that can help with this. There's a lot of individuals that you might trust who can serve in this particular role. But keep in mind, there's all these different skill sets that one really needs to be an effective trustee. And so throughout the centuries, there's been these trust companies that have served in this capacity, and rightfully so. They would, build out their roster of professionals with lawyers and CPAs and financial advisory professionals and other types of paraprofessionals that really could make sure that these trusts are being administered properly, the assets are being distributed properly, and they're being invested or managed properly. In the advent of modern trust laws, and that probably goes back 40 years and have continued, every year really, there's updates to trust laws, not necessarily in every jurisdiction. And this is why you hear me talk about the variety of jurisdictions when it comes to trust laws, and there's differences in all these trust laws. But one of the modern approaches to trust planning has been the advent of directed trusts. Not every state or even every country, we work with clients located everywhere, domestically as well as abroad. And so clients will have trust in different jurisdictions. And one of the reasons they're doing that is to take advantage of the best trust laws available to them, given their circumstances. But not all jurisdictions have these directed trusts. And really what these directed trusts are accomplishing is carving out the various responsibilities that exist inside of a trust, right? So they're carving out that administrative piece of kind of doing the back office function and maybe putting together tax documents, or carving out that piece where distributions are being made according to the terms of the trust document. Or maybe it's carving out that management of the assets, right? The investment of the assets, how to run the business, those types of things. So that's really what a directed trust is. It bifurcates or trifurcates, just parts and parcels, the various responsibilities that a traditional trustee has had. And again, not every jurisdiction offers these directed trust laws. That doesn't mean you can't do it in any jurisdiction, but what you want to make sure is that there's a track record when you're doing this kind of planning that's in favor of what you want to accomplish. So not always relying on case law, decisions made by judges is a good idea, and looking at jurisdictions that have well-defined statutes on their books around this. So there's really not a lot of jurisdictions that have well-regarded directed trust. Of course, you hear me talk about Nevada, you hear me talk about South Dakota, Alaska, Delaware, Wyoming, Tennessee, particularly in the United States. South Dakota is known for having the best directed trust laws. Do you have to go to South Dakota to do this? No, you don't. However, there's certain circumstances when you definitely want to take advantage of South Dakota. So it might be an asset protection trust, right? There's certain circumstances where it makes sense to give up certain responsibilities, certain control over assets. So what this really allows you to do is to make sure that the best professionals are in charge of particular roles. So let's just say a family's worked with a financial advisor for many decades, and that's how they've really accumulated a significant amount of wealth. Maybe that family wants to continue to work with that financial advisor. They can name that financial advisor in an investment advisor role. Now, there's some circumstances where a financial advisor may not be willing to do that, but they could still name someone else who would then delegate that role to the financial advisor. Now, maybe they want to work with a specific CPA that's been the family CPA for many decades. They can continue to do that as well. Maybe they name the CPA as an administrative trustee, or maybe they name a trust company that only serves as an administrative trustee to handle that back office function. Maybe it's compliance and reporting, but maybe they want a family member or a trusted friend or maybe another family advisor to make sure that the terms of the trust regarding distributions are being made in accordance with the trust. Point is, all of a sudden, the person who set up the trust retains, right, a certain amount of control that they previously didn't have when they used to have to give up all of the trustee responsibilities to either one person or one entity. Now they've decided that they've had their team in place over many, many years, and they want to continue with that team. It's really the opportunity, these directed trusts are really the opportunity for clients to have a serious succession plan in place over many generations to make sure that the family wealth is continuing to grow, that you have your team of professionals in place to be able to make sure that the trust accomplish what you want it to accomplish. And one of the last things, and this isn't necessarily part of the directed trust, but you can also have a trust protector. And I have videos about trust protectors. But a trust protector ultimately is there to make sure that the integrity of the trust and its objectives are met. They're kind of a super trustee and they oversee all the other responsibilities. So it's really a weight and balances, a checks and balances that exist inside a trust to make sure that one particular person isn't just doing everything, and that really the team effort is there to make sure that the objectives of the client are met over many generations and that the family continues to benefit from this wealth over time.